VR, as an industry on the whole, there's so many hard problems yet to be solved. It really is just an open book for research and science for years to come.
It's kind of like cars 100 years ago compared to cars of today. That whole time there's been massive innovation. So maybe in 100 years I won't want to be working on virtual reality because we'll have it perfect. But until we get there, it's going to be a very exciting, really fast-moving field.
Yeah. I doubt Palmer will ever get out of virtual reality.
I'll probably die first.
That's probably true.
Right now, the community is taking off. It's exploding. And we're all on this mission to transform gaming, entertainment, the way we interact with one another. Everybody's part of the revolution.
It's the most exciting thing in technology. There's no other place which lets you create new worlds.
I've been working on a lot of research problems in academia, tracking and object recognition for many years. But VR is pretty much the first time we really have a good reason to solve all these problems.
It's probably one of the most interesting fields in technology right now, and I think as designers you really want to be on the kind of cutting edge of where things are happening.
It's not often you get to define a grammar for something new.
Well, I think in many ways those obstacles are what's fun about developing for VR right now.
I love being in a new space, and it's just a new medium. It's fun to explore.
I want to be there. I want to be there day one. I want to be part of that.
Different people are going to pull different bits of magic out of this, and that brightens my day when I see a new application that does something novel or clever, and I think that was made possible by this. This is great, and I'm so happy I'm working on this.
I am very excited to be a part of something that is going to change the world, and I do believe that.
What really kind of impacts me about what we're doing here is how hard it would be for me to go back to making regular games. It's not possible.
It's amazing, amazing progress in crazy directions all over the place, but all really funneling towards this idea of consumer VR.
So I actually think that VR is maybe the most transformational technology of my lifetime. With every new technology, there are those people who see that it could possibly change the world, and that's who I think we have here today.
This isn't a team of 10 or 100. This is a team of over 100,000 people coming together to realize the dream of virtual reality.
I think we're all incredibly grateful for the impact the community's had on both Oculus and the Rift.
They're really committed to getting this right, which is something we really believe in too. And it's amazing to have been on this journey with all of these people, making virtual reality what it is today. And I know I say this all the time, but really, we're just getting started.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO Oculus, Brendan E. Reeb.
Wow. Good morning, and welcome to the first Oculus Connect Developer Conference. It's awesome to see all of you out there. This is a really special moment, and this is a special day for everyone. Today, after just 2 short years of launching the Kickstarter, I truly believe that you will also join us in the belief that VR is finally ready. We have some very exciting things to tell you and show you. We're gathered at this time where we've thought about VR for decades. We've dreamed of VR. It's been in books and movies. If you're a sci-fi enthusiast, this is the holy grail. This is the thing that you've always imagined would finally happen. It's not 2030, it's not 2050, it's 2014. And today, it is happening. Virtual reality is here. Just let that sink in. We thought about flying cars, maybe hoverboards. We thought about virtual reality, and it's now here. There are more developers in the world creating virtual reality with dev kits than ever before. You guys, the community, made this happen. There's over 100,000 Rift developer kits shipped to more than 130 countries around the world. We launched 2 years ago. That's incredible. I never expected it to go this quickly. None of us did. Again, it's because of you guys. It's because of the dream of virtual reality and hardware and it being finally the time. Today, you and the VR community have an opportunity to come together and take VR to the next level. That's what this conference is all about. That's what today is all about. Now, I hope you have a lot of fun while you're doing this. We always pride ourselves and say at Oculus, while we're on this crazy journey, this amazing journey, one of the most important, if not the most important parts of it, is to have freaking fun. We're going out there, we're changing the world, we're realizing this dream. Let's enjoy it. Let's embrace it, and let's do it together as a community. We're not 10, we're not 100. We're literally over 100,000. I think it's 130,000 now in our developer forum. That's incredible. There's never been a hardware platform with that many developer kits. Together, we have a chance to create something really special. Something that will change the lives of the entire future of human race. It's going to be that impactful. It really is. I didn't believe it when we first started. I thought it was a neat science project by a 19-year-old. That was potentially one of the coolest experiences I've ever seen. But I didn't realize just how important this was going to be for the future. Think about it for a second. We've been looking at different realities, different fantasies on 2D surfaces for over 100 years. Whether it's books, film, photos, video games. We all love video games. But it's always a 2D surface, and you're trying to immerse yourself in. You're trying to believe that you're in that fantasy, in that world. Luckily, you look around and you're reminded, it's okay, I'm not really there. Until now. With virtual reality, when you put on the headset, and it's good enough, and you're going to see something very special today, when it's good enough, suddenly the back of your brain believes you're there. You now are reminding yourself, no, I'm not really there. It's a pretty amazing experience. You start fighting this. We went from trying to convince ourselves we're there to try to convince ourselves we're not there. So we're not all going to be running around Call of Duty. You don't really want to be in Call of Duty. You don't want bullets going by your head. I have a feeling we'd all be crunched down in a bunker, really scared. I know I would be. But that's what virtual reality can bring. It is truly amazing. Our mission is to transform gaming, entertainment, and the way we interact. We truly believe this will happen. And yes, it did start with games and gaming. And it is going to continue with games. Because virtual reality, for it to truly work, you have to create 2 virtual cameras that are in the exact place of your eyes. You have to trick the brain that you're there with all the movement. That's all built at the core in software in a 3D game engine. And it will continue to be. And it's us, the VR and gaming community, that are going to make that happen. To do this and to really get out there and connect 1 billion people, 2 billion people in VR, we see 2 categories, PC and mobile VR. These each have trade-offs, advantages and challenges. Today on PC, you get this awesome comfort and high fidelity, and you get the sense of presence, which is the magic of VR. Using features like positional tracking, high frame rates, low persistence, incredibly powerful GPUs, you can create unbelievable worlds.
Kinesthetic, maybe even smell and taste. The entire body will become the sensor, not just the eyes, and the display will consist of not just pixels, but of everything that drives perception. VR also includes the other part of the perceptual loop, interaction as well as sensing. So it will include the ability to manipulate the virtual world as well. Over time, VR will wrap more and more of our perceptual system and will truly become a personalized alternate reality. It'll be many years before that transformation is complete, but VR is already changing what is possible, just as new hardware long ago enabled Myst, Doom, and Quake. Soon, there will be VR games, apps, and experiences that will revolutionize the way we interact with information and with each other. We're building the platform, but what those games, apps, and experiences will be is for you to decide. Imagine you had a pair of enchanted goggles that could teleport you to any place you could imagine. Where would you go? What would you do? It's a powerful thought, and that's exactly the magic that VR makes possible. Right now, we're at the very beginning of the VR revolution, and ahead of us lies a long, incredibly exciting time of groundbreaking research and development by smart, talented people, people like you. At Oculus, we're all in on building the VR platform, but that's only part of the picture. It takes a whole community working on top of that platform to make VR happen. This is what it looks like when opportunity knocks. I hope you'll take this rare chance to shape the future and come along on the adventure of a lifetime as we make science fiction real. Thank you. So let me just say that the energy in this room around VR is unbelievable. I never thought I would have a day like this, so it's fantastic. So to get back to the real world, be back here around 11:30 for John Carmack's talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please make your way back into the ballroom, the program is going to continue in just a couple more minutes. Thank you so much. Once again, everybody, we ask that you please make your way into the ballroom, have a seat. We are going to begin momentarily. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CTO Oculus, John Carmack.
All right, so I don't actually have a presentation, but I can stand up here and talk about interesting things till they run me off the stage. So, so mostly that's going to be about Gear VR, because that's what I've spent most of my effort this last year on. So for the too long didn't listen crowd, we'll start with where we are today, and then we'll go into the history and the path that took us there, which offers some insight for the current state of things. So I believe pretty strongly in being very frank and open about flaws and the limitations. So this is kind of where I go off message a little bit from the standard PR plan and talk very frankly about things. So the current killer limitations on Gear VR are the fact that it's a 60 hertz low persistence display, which has flicker problems for a lot of people, and it has no position. We live with for a while, but we all understand the issue now, and I'm confident in future versions that problem will go away. But there's still a few random unexplained things that we can see, some things I think dealing with audio that can cause us to glitch up, and this is something that we wish we had better yet visibility into the Android systems, but there's still a learning process. Again, a year ago I went into this knowing nothing about Android. I'm still far from an expert, but we know our way around a lot of this now, and we're getting what we need to accomplished. So I've pretty far shot over my time here. There's lots more to talk about, but I've got at least a little bit of time for some questions here. But I'm around all day, and I expect to completely lose my voice today. So a couple times already, just catch me anywhere. We can form a little crowd, and we can go over whatever topic you want. But if we can go ahead and I've got a few minutes. We can probably blow past the budget a little bit longer, but we've got a little bit of time for questions if you want to start lining up at the microphone. Or, okay, if you want to. Yeah. So brightness, the question about whether we want to have some overbrighting factor for the interlace like you would do on to compensate for it on TV sets. Brightness is an interesting question. In fact, to talk a little bit more about the actual display technologies there, currently Gear VR has an option, a brightness slider, and I'm not even sure that's really a good idea. One of the aspects is that our low persistence value is related to our brightness levels. When you're below a certain brightness, you're at 20% duty cycle, and when you're above that brightness, you're at 30% duty cycle. And I wish we were even lower, because 20% duty cycle in 16 milliseconds, that's 3.2 milliseconds, and DK2 runs lower than that. And when you get all the way up to 4.8 milliseconds, it's getting to feel smeary again. It's still 3 times better than DK1 or a full persistence display, but it's not great. So I would argue that, and especially since if you've got all light blocked out from the display, I don't think you need a brightness selection. I think everybody sees the same things and you adapt to it fairly quickly. So I think a fixed display brightness probably would be a good thing, and if we control it directly, then we could pump up whatever we needed for doing that. But I don't think we would actually adjust it for interlace. I think that we would pick one of the values there and we would take whatever it gets. But the other aspect related to displays there is the color calibration, where the displays are color calibrated. Okay, I'm going to go on for a while about a few more of these display topics. So one of the things talking about resolution, so these panels are diamond pixel or pentile displays, which is generally not what you want. You want RGB triad. You want to say, this is my red, this is my green, this is my blue. But these panels, they wind up, all the greens are there, but only half of the reds and half of the blues. When I first hear about this each time, I think, oh, they're just cheating. They want to be able to claim they're a 1080p or 1440p display without actually having all of those pixels. But it turns out there is another more significant reason, especially with OLEDs. The blue OLEDs will burn out quicker if they're the same size, so making them larger and driving them lower is a positive thing there. But this does mean that for the graphic techs that get really high-end obsessive about filter kernels and things like that, you have to know that whatever you push out on red and blue is not going to be what winds up on the display. It's going to be a function of 2 to 4 of the surrounding pixels there. I was pleasantly surprised to find out they actually are gamma correct. I had just assumed that it was going to be busted and done in linear space, but it's gamma correct, and the calibration on them is actually, it's much better sRGB calibration than on my desktop monitor. There's still a little bit of room for improvement. The top saturates a little bit more, and the bottom ones aren't quite right. And in VR, the linear ramp on sRGB is a terrible thing that we might be better off not being sRGB, but we've got good quality on a lot of that stuff. But the other little thing that I would mention to game designers and interface side of that is there's a consequence of that fact that we've got twice as many greens as reds or blues. If you really care about information and conveying something like text, there's a good argument to be made for doing it green on black. Pick a matrix style there, and or it's like an 80s Apple II monitor, where that will actually be the crispest, most legible way of doing things. And one of the clever things that our UI guys puked at the idea of green displays, so they at least came up with the kind of clever idea of having a very subtle green outline around things, so it still gives kind of the crisply defined outline, just with a little hint of green around it. But just going green on black would be the way to really convey the absolute most information. Yeah.
Hi, John. Thanks for coming out here.
Yeah.
I know it's a long flight. So you said Brendan likes to think about the sit-down experience, the sit-down VR experience. Well, I'm more about the stand-up experience, full-body VR. I know the data you get from this is pretty coarse, but do you think that there's any value in taking data from, say, GPS or a pedometer to track movement like walking around? Is Oculus even thinking about that?
So the thing that keeps coming up that gets overlooked so much is sub-millimeter precision for the tracking. So the question of whether we can use larger scale things, although some GPS is amazing technology. I mean, some of the real-time kinematic GPS stuff is giving millimeter level accuracy from things, usually not in real time, but that is startlingly close. I'm getting the please wrap up angry message here. Let's try and let's clear the people that are at the microphones here. So no, I don't think that we've got any near-term plans for that. In the long term, in our world of VR and AR, then yes, that will be used at some point. Let's go ahead.
Just related to movement tracking, like Google's Project Tango. Have you guys got? I don't.
Yeah, we had the Tango demo and everything.
Yeah. So how accurate was that in terms of?
So it was better than a lot of people expected, and yeah, you could look around and it's not sub-millimeter, but it's like a heck of a lot better than what most AR toolkit type things are going on. And they've got their structured light sensor that they could use for extra fixes. As I understand it, they're still doing most of it through the standard camera experience though. So it's great to see all of this work coming on, and I'll be happy if somebody else nails this problem through cell phone cameras, I'll be thrilled. It'll be one less thing that I have to kind of work on in the different things. So,
do you know off the top of your head what the latency and positional?
I don't know what it was, but that's actually not that important. That's something that's not immediately obvious. But all of these systems, all of the VR systems on this use the IMU for all the up-to-date stuff. It's a matter of they just need to know at some point in the past, not too far in the past, then you can go ahead and say, this is where you really were, and then reproject through. So if it's, even 100 milliseconds, ideally less than that, but you can have a pretty long latency. As long as you know what the time was, you can recorrect from there, and it doesn't have to be, because you don't get it, there's nothing that we've got that delivers everything right now. We want 2 milliseconds latency, and you're not getting that from an optical system, in consumer gear at least.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You did mention that you were getting the camera pass-through on the Gear VR,
yeah.
Note 4. Have you guys been doing any augmented reality kind of applications or work with the computer vision coming out of that, not just for position tracking?
Okay, so if anybody's going to do an augmented reality application, you must not stretch the camera larger than what it is, where the camera on the Gear VR is a 60 by 45, something like that degree, which is this small area in VR. And you could go do an AR experience with that. And we've got the 120 hertz camera, so it's way better for doing that than any kind of standard AR experience using the 30 hertz camera interface. But I see lots of people then go ahead and take that camera and say, I want it to be big, and stretch it over everything, which then becomes far worse than any sin we've ever committed in any of our distortion calibration stuff. You don't just stretch it up over like that. So there's some work that's been done on them. I haven't seen anything that I'm not a big fan of AR cell phone applications. Really, I've seen a lot of demos, and I think that they are technologies looking for a product, looking for a reason to exist. I've played with a bunch of them, and I am yet to be won over. It may just be a matter of that the quality is not good enough, that it needs to be 60 hertz with a 120 hertz scanner, updating all the time, not dropping and popping and having all the different problems. If augmented reality with sub-millimeter precision and no jitter with low persistence might be a very cool thing, but I've yet to see it.
Hi there. Irrespective of the resolution or the pixel density, the size of the device and the screen actually, do you feel the current size for the Note 4 is a good one? Smaller or larger would be better from the trade-offs with weight? How do you feel about that?
It is remarkably close to optimal. It is, it's very close to twice the average IPD for people. It's about where you'd want the interaxial for the lenses. We waste a little bit of display off the top and bottom with the current lenses. One of the big things that I want to push for is non-circular lenses, where ideally we would have lenses shaped to project an image that's the full, we're rendering a square image in software, and then we're throwing away the corners of it by the shape of things. So I think it's actually a pretty darn good trade-off. I mean, obviously it would be better if we had separate cantable, interaxial, adjustable displays, but if it's going to be one display, it's almost perfect in size.
Thanks.
I mean, I guess unless they literally chase me off the stage, I can stay here answering questions until they...
Hi, John.
Yeah.
We actually are going to end for lunch.
Okay.
And if we can just take the rest of the questions offline, that would be
all
great.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.